Okay, I think we're gonna get started. I'm hitting buttons already. Don't look at the screen. Okay.
Modern Family, all right.
Yeah, isn't that such a good show? Jay!
So
All right, so before we officially get started, we obviously have to thank a few people. So the first one is gonna be Prescott Eats,
Yep.
and that is how they spell it, because they're super cool. The food's delicious. We're gonna thank Guild Mortgage, Danelle specifically, for coming out, because she's gonna give us some information on home loans, pre-qualification, you know, like the really scary stuff. And then of course, Wingspace Co-working and Melanie, who developed Wingspace, that's where we are. And then of course, Odd Productions for recording our session today. That logo is made from our dog, just in case you wanted to know. All right, so of course, you guys want to know who you're talking to. Some of you know me already. Pam, you don't quite know me,
No, nah.
but you're going to.
Okay.
So, my name is Linda. I'm a licensed realtor with the Kingsbury Real Estate Group in town, and we're a part of Keller Williams, Northern Arizona. There's a lot of things I could tell you about myself. There are a lot of important things you should know. I think the most important thing is how cute my dog is. So,
Oh my God.
and I'm not just saying that, I brought proof, you know? Isn't she precious?
Baseball hat. is
Yeah, she's so good. She'll just wear it. And I'm like, stay there. I gotta take a picture. She's looking for a modeling job, so if you know anyone. All right. So now it's time for the icebreaker, and you guys can all play this because none of you know the answers. You all have to stand up for 5 minutes and talk about yourselves. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, all the pressure's on me. Don't worry. So this is a game called Two Truths and One Lie. You might have heard of it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 3 things on the board that are in relation to me. 2 of them are true. 1 of them is a lie. So you have to decide in 30 seconds as a group which ones are true and which one's a lie. So the truth is out there. You've got to find it. Number 1, I was once declared dead.
Ooh.
Number 2, I've eaten a tadpole.
I could see that. On the chair, I could see that.
Number 3, I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Oh, good one.
Yeah,
Pretty intense.
right? All of them are a little.
Uh-oh. Which one do we think the lie is? Number 1? Oh, I don't know. Or 3. 1 or 3? It's gonna be
Yeah, what do you guys think? Okay, so do you guys think 1 is true or false?
I'm kind of scared if that's true.
You don't know who you're dealing with.
I think it's number 3. I think you've never seen Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you think that one's true?
Yeah.
Cool. Which other one do you think is true?
You've eaten a tadpole.
You guys are awesome. Okay, so let's see what the results are.
Oh!
Yeah!
Never eat. We gotta change that.
I almost ate a tadpole. My
were
mom talked me out of it.
declared dead.
I was. I was
Oh.
2 years old, and I was dead for like 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much a genius, but I had some brain damage probably, so now I'm just regular smart.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? So there's like a whole story. That will be another lunch and learn.
Yeah, okay. That's the follow-up. Just I want to hear that story.
Yeah, right? You're gonna need a whole hour. So, and I've never seen Game of Thrones. Don't spoil anything, because we might watch it someday.
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
I mean dragons. What did you say dinosaurs? I've never seen it.
Okay, you're like trying to spoil it. That's funny. That was a good one though. I believed you. I was like, there's dinosaurs.
And tadpoles.
And tadpoles. I'm not afraid of them. All right. So this is why we're here today. As much fun as we are having, let's talk about 6 tips for first-time home buyers. If this isn't why you're here, hopefully then you just came for the food, because that's pretty awesome too. The goal of this class is to help build confidence and clarity or clarity in your home buying process, so that you feel comfortable taking the next step and actually speaking with someone about buying a home. Or if you're totally fine with buying a home, now you just know what you need to do, or you will know. Okay, so let's talk about tip number 1. Tip number 1 is, coincidentally, the most important tip, so I've put it first. Tip number 1 is to get pre-approved for a home loan first. So a lot of you know this is important. Some people don't. I myself, when I get excited about doing something, I do it in the wrong order because I do the most exciting thing first, which is look at the homes. So you want to go look at the homes, right? But if you don't know what your budget is, you're not going to know where to look. Or if you're looking at homes that are out of your price range, someone else might be taking the home that fits your price range and your needs while you were out there playing around, you know? So very important. And I'm not the total professional on this, so I brought one. Danelle.
So thank you so much. It's
You're
so
very
nice to be here. So when it comes to getting a loan, I think that there is a very, very scary perception out there that we are this mean banker with a big like handlebar mustache and we just, you know, sit there and we're trying to deny everything. That's not the case by any means. Your lender is your partner. So number one, I think that that's really, really important to remember is to have a very honest, open communication with a lender so that they know exactly what you're working with. Our job is to figure out how to take real life situations and then make it workable with lending, because believe it or not, people do not live their life as we would want to see it from lending guidebooks. You know, I mean, there's just so many things that we need to follow that just don't make common sense. So our job is to just help you through the process. The earlier you can talk to a lender also, the better. The sooner that we can visit with you and let you know, okay, so here are the do's, here are the don'ts, all that kind of stuff, the easier the entire process is. But your lender is definitely your partner. For first-time home buyers, I think that there are really two super common fears and concerns. Number one is credit. People have had bad things happen with their credit. I mean, they just have. And with that said, you know, whether you've had a foreclosure, a bankruptcy, a short sale, you know, whatever the situation, just know that we're also here to help you through that. So when it comes to buying, it's really truly never just a yes or no, it's a matter of when. And sometimes we need to plan, we need to work towards when we can get a yes. And a lot of times there's a situation or a loan program that says, hey, that's totally cool. If you had a foreclosure 3 years ago, we can work with that, or 2 years ago, or whatever. So there's a lot of options out there, but credit is a really, really huge concern. I think people have just a fear of having someone get that intimate with their finances. But again, just know that the lender is there to help you through that. We have really cool credit simulators even, to where I can take a credit report today and I can say, okay, so what if we pay this one debt off, or what if I pay this down to this dollar amount, and then we create a new debt and we do all this stuff, and I can, you know, create a hypothetical credit score that's pretty darn accurate. So I can say, okay, if you do this, this, and this, we're gonna go from a 580 to a 620, and that could be a big enough move to get you into a home. So credit is something that we work with a lot, definitely not something to be afraid of talking to us about. The other one that I think is a really common concern is money. A lot of people still think you got to have 20% down. A lot of people still have that notion out there that we just have to have a big down payment, and that is so not the truth. There's some awesome down payment assistance programs that have, I mean, I have seen clients get into a home with just a few $100. So there are some great programs. There's the down payment assistance, there's VA with 100% financing, there's USDA that's 102% financing. And so there's a lot of options. And then last but not least, I think it's kind of interesting that the topic here is pre-approved for a home loan. There is a big difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. A pre-qualification is when you call up the lender and you say, hey, I make X, I have this much in the bank, and here's my general situation. And then we pull credit and I say, okay, you said you make this much, you said you have this much in the bank, you know, you said X, Y, and Z, so then we pre-qualify you based on that. But a pre-approval is where you go through the effort of giving the lender all of your paperwork, your bank statements, your tax returns, your W-2s, all of this stuff where we verify everything. And once we've done that, we can actually truly have you pre-approved for a loan. And that's when you can go shopping and have absolute certainty that you're going to be able to get that loan. So a pre-approval is very, very important. So be sure to make sure to take that last step and actually give the lender everything. They can identify red flags that can totally cause major problems if we don't have the opportunity to see them ahead of time. And in a nutshell, I think that's about everything that I have, unless you
That's
have any other
awesome.
questions for me.
No, I think we might talk to you again a little bit later about down payments, but I think you covered everything. I learn something new every time. Yay! Ta-da! Tip number 2. Understand your needs versus your wants. So now we've been pre-approved, we know our budget, we know what we're looking for in terms of price range, so we need to know what we want in a house and what that budget can get us in a house. So there's a difference between what you need and what you want, and it sounds pretty basic. It is, but you just have to take the time to actually think about it. Needs are what you've decided you absolutely have to have, obviously. Wants are things that would be great, but not deal breakers if they were absent. So you might need 3 bedrooms because maybe you have a couple of kids or something. I don't know, dogs, each one gets their own bedroom, right? A want might be something like, I need a garage, I want it attached. But if it's detached, I can live with that. So there's a difference between things that will break the deal and things that won't. What needs and wants can you guys think of? Activity. What's something that you guys need in a house?
I need a workshop.
Boom.
I don't really want.
I don't really. Pretend Raylyn needs a family room.
Yeah, family room.
I want 2 walk-in closets.
Amazing. That should be everyone's need. I love it. What's an example of something that you would want, but it's not gonna kill it if
Washer
you?
and dryer in the master closet.
Ooh. Well, that's fancy. I need that now. Just kidding. Awesome. Any others you guys want to throw out? Or we?
Swimming pool isn't a deal breaker.
That's awesome. All right. So you already know what you need and want. You're ahead of all of us. So the most important thing about knowing what you need and what you want is that the average person has to view between 8 and 10 homes before they can say, let's make an offer on this one. That's a lot of homes. If you really narrow down what you need versus what you want, you can do the same thing in 3. So if you look at 3 homes and you say, boom, that one, you've beat out everyone else by hours, days, maybe even weeks if you're from out of town. So while you were viewing just 3 properties and they were viewing 10, you got the house that they maybe wanted, they were gonna take from you. Does that make sense? So you beat the deal. It's important. So important that your needs beat your wants. Okay? I made that for you guys.
Now I get it.
See? Gotta get that visual. All right, so let's talk about tip number 3. So you understand what your budget is, you understand what you need. Now you need to understand your apprehensions. You have all the tools you need to buy a home, but you're kind of nervous, or you're like, ooh, I don't know how to take that next step, or I'm not sure if I'm ready. That's when you need to remember why you're buying a house. Is it for security reasons, so people don't raise your rent without you being prepared for it? Is it so that they don't all of a sudden end your lease or don't renew your lease? Security is a big factor for me, so that's what I like to use as an example. And of course, when you do get cold feet, that's the recommended treatment. So stay focused. Remember what your goals are. And avoid buyer's remorse, because it is a big purchase, one of the biggest of your life. So avoid buyer's remorse by defining your wants and needs. We know how to do that because we did it earlier. Staying in your budget, we know how to do that because Danielle helped us. Remember what your goals are because we're staying focused. Considering advice from family and friends. This can be super helpful, or it can be a little bit derailing to your process. So advice from family and friends is very great. Just remember that they might not be on the same page you are. So take what works for your goals and keep those pieces of advice. Make sense? Work with professionals that you trust. not just professionals that you trust, right? So there are so many lenders, there are so many agents, and a lot of them are great and a lot of them are not. So make sure you sit down with someone. You're like, yeah. Sit down with them, talk with them, interview them, and you get to pick them. So ask them all the questions you want. It's important. All right, let's talk about the next tip. Tip number 4, prepare for a few expenses. This can vary. Like Danelle said, she's had people get into homes for just a couple of $100s. Some people it takes a couple of $1,000. It depends on what your situation is, and that is something that we don't have the time to go in depth into today, but maybe later, next class, after I tell you about how I died. So a few things to try and prepare for: the lender application fee, the appraisal fee, home inspections, home and title insurance, the escrow fee. Overall, and of course depending on the situation, you might prepare to pay between 2% to 5% of your home's purchase price. Just an average. Does that sound about right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Sellers typically pay your realtor's fee, but that of course is negotiable. Everything's negotiable. But that is kind of what we usually see. What about the down payment? Oh, we talked about that a little bit. There's a bunch of different programs, and some of them are similar and some of them are vastly different. Again, depending on your situation. We don't need the 20% down, as Danelle said. That was perfect. I was like, yes, I don't have to say anything. Any questions on this one? Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Tip number 5, don't freak out. Okay, good tip. We're going to talk about the purchase contract. So you found the house you liked. You found it really fast because you know your needs and your wants, right? And you're super smart. So here's a quick rundown of what happens after you find the house you want. You're going to submit your offer with any contingencies. Contingencies are like terms of agreement. So I'm going to buy this house, or I want to buy your house at this price, but you have to fix this hole in the wall, or I'm not going to do it. Okay. Something like that. It could be all sorts of things. After you submit the offer, the seller can accept the offer, which is awesome. We hope they do, right? Or they can make a counteroffer. If they accept the offer, then you enter the escrow period. That is where we talk about all the things that you pay for earlier. The escrow, or you secure the mortgage loan. You schedule and pay for the appraisals, inspections, and surveys. Title and home insurance is obtained. And you check that contingencies are taken care of. Did they fix the hole in the wall? Were they lying about fixing the hole in the wall? Things to think of. If you're working with a realtor, which of course I'm going to mention, obviously, they coordinate all of this for you and more. So you just say, I want that one, this is what I'm willing to pay, and this is what I want done, and then we schedule and handle the rest. And we keep you updated. And then hopefully you close on your home, and you get little keys. If they don't accept the offer, they can reject it and not give you a counteroffer, or they can give you a counteroffer, which is, you know, I was okay with the price you offered, but I don't want to fix the wall. Or I'll fix the wall, but pay this much instead. So it's just a bit of a different offer. Make sense? And repeat. Rinse and repeat. Okay. Don't worry about writing anything down. This is in your folder because I'm well prepared and I care about you. So it's just a quick process of start to finish buying a home. You find a real estate agent, hopefully. You obtain pre-approval, pre-qualified. You analyze your needs and wants. You select the properties. You view the properties. You write an offer. You negotiate the terms or contingencies. You accept the contract, or they do, rather, hopefully. And then everything starts to happen after that. That happens kind of on the inside that we handle typically. So we make sure the contingencies are removed. The mortgage financing happens, credit check, underwriting, appraisal, survey, insurance, all the fun stuff, right? Conduct inspections, resolve any issues, conduct title search, remove encumbrances, which is a really cool word for things that get in the way. obtain title insurance, and finally obtain funds for closing, close on the property, and take possession. So just a quick. All right. Tip number 6, hire a professional. Okay, because it took you guys a second. You're like, what? Yes. So why hire a professional? It's not necessary. Like, it's not, you don't have to. You know, the same way you can try and fix your car yourself. Good luck. Just kidding, that's harder. So why hire a professional? Peace of mind, coordination of the transaction process, so everything we talked about earlier, it's a lot easier for you because we handle all of that. Powerful home search methods. So sometimes you might find the home before us and we do all the work after that, but we still have these super stellar methods where everything is listed in there, it's all up to date and it's quick. Other sources like Zillow and Trulia, and there's another one I can't remember the name of. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, they have everything too, but it's slower. So you might find a house and say, ooh, I really like that one, let's go look at it. And then I pull it up and I go, oh man, okay, it's taken. They just haven't updated it yet. So what else can we look at? So it takes a lot of your emotions and messes with them, you know, and we kind of take that out of there. AVM is an automated valuation method, which is what those other systems use as well to determine the value of a house. So you'll see the Zestimate, the Zillow estimate, and in places like Phoenix or large subdivisions, larger cities where there's a lot of conformity in the units, it's kind of a great tool. But in a place like Prescott and Prescott Valley, Chino, Dewey, all these places that have a lot of custom homes or a lot of things that people have done to them, you know, they've really put the love in there. So they're different. Each one is different. And the Zestimate or the AVM is not going to work the same way. You know, it might be way too high, it might be way too low. So something just to keep in mind. We have a fiduciary duty to you as the client. That means we legally have to do what is in your best interest, and if we don't, we get in trouble. So that's a big deal, I think. You know, we'd do it anyways. We'd do what's right for you anyways, but we get in trouble if we don't. Negotiation power. We do this kind of a lot. So we're experts at negotiating, especially if it turns into a negotiation war or a bidding war where it's a lot of back and forth. We'll know the ins and outs of when you need to do a big adjustment versus a small adjustment, or how far we can go until they're not going to play with us anymore. You know, how worth it is it to lose this house over this much, etc. Handling of purchase contracts. It's like a giant receipt, 50 pages. And then knowledge of deadlines. So once you enter the escrow period, there are various deadlines that you have to meet. You have to have inspections by a certain time, appraisals done by a certain time, and if you don't do them within those designated time periods, the contract becomes null, and you've basically violated the contract, and so you can lose that deal because the next contract comes in from the next person. So it's important to stay on top of those deadlines. And of course, we protect you through knowledge. If we see something weird, we're gonna be like, that's weird. And we're gonna check it out. And it might be they don't actually own the house, so they can't sell it to you. So things like that we can do to protect you. Bonus tips. You thought there were just 6. Always remember, and this is very important, that you're wonderful. You've worked hard to get where you are. You guys all got lost and you still made it here. You're one of the coolest people in the room, but don't tell anybody else. So work hard, dream big, never give up. And thank you for coming. If you would like to go to another class, there might not always be delicious food, but I'm here. Then you can go to learnwithlynn.com and see what I've got coming up next. You can also view real estate, up-to-date real estate, at lindakingaz.com, and it can send you little automatic notifications for what you're looking for. It's pretty neat. Any questions on anything we've done?
That was great.
Thank you.